Hello, my friends, and good evening or go after for Wootings Day this week. This week, we have a wonderful question that's been asked that I really want to take a moment to, if I may, to just bend your ear and to allow, hopefully, some thoughts to cross between us that you can use to either obtain or maintain our mental space. Before I do, I want to give a huge shout out over here to New Reality TV and newrealitytv.com. For those of you who haven't had a chance yet, check them out. Consider subscribing, very low cost, and you get access to just a plethora of different perspectives that hopefully can help, again, obtain or maintain our mental space, obtain balance between our physical and our spiritual selves. So be sure to check them out. As always, please check out my website at northwhispers.com. There you can also go to northwhispers.com/coaching for those of you who may need an ear to bend and need someone to talk to. By all means, give me a shout and I'm happy to start up a conversation with you, right, to hopefully help you get through. As always, my wonderful, amazing supporters and followers on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, even Vimeo, and plenty of others. So I wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much for following us here. I also want to give a shout out for those of you watching on any of the other platforms tonight. Facebook is our live chat. For those of you who may have questions about what we're going to cover tonight, you're welcome to put them in chat. I can check them out and hopefully get you an answer that works for you. All right? So, final note of administrative duties, just to be sure, for those of you who might have a few extra coins, need somewhere productive to put them, by all means, feel free to check out my tip jar. Every little bit counts. So anything you can do to help would be wonderful, and I would accept it most graciously. Thank you. Tonight, Monica has a question, and Monica's question speaks about what I've been doing a lot of research about over the last couple of weeks, which is this idea of perspectives. And her question is, how can we change our perspective if, per se, that, things are looking really bleak or maybe a little depressing, and we want to change our perspective? How can we do that? Well, let's first talk about what it means to have an emotional state caused by our perspective. What does that mean, really? Well, as you may or may not be aware, we are, as physical beings, we are constantly being bombarded with energy of all different sorts, whether it be spiritual energy coming in from our ancestors and all of those folks out there, or whether it be from the energy that's transmitted in through our physical sensory input, whichever that may be, through our emotional filters into our brain for processing. Of course, our processing part immediately grabs the emotional signature on the energy, sends down the heart, then releases energy or hormones, chemicals into the body. That comes back up to the brain, and the brain does this little comparison and says, hey, this is how we feel. Immediately, it's going to set our emotional filters behind our physical sensory input, and it's going to adjust the border of our aura, thereby kind of preventing or allowing different experiences to even manifest themselves in the first place, right? Because if we have a positive attitude and positive outlook on life, notice Negative things have less of an impact on us than when we are more or less in a neutral or a potentially a negative state. Those things are going to have more of an impact. Why? Because we're already there and the energy is just simply adding to what we already have. So, having said all that, what's the big deal about changing our direction? Well, really nothing. There is nothing. We simply have to change our thinking. Now, is that possible? It's possible. Is it challenging? Absolutely. And is it, once we make that change, can we sustain that? I mean, how does the sustainment work? Well, energy and our focus are simply a way of where we're putting our energy. As an example, if you've ever noticed, if you're, say, into a video game, it's late at night, you're home from work, you got some time, your friends are online, you're going to go out and you're going to play video games, right? And you get into this game and you guys are having a awesome time. And you're just slaying bodies as they were in these video games. You're having a great time. Notice how you look up at the clock and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're like, well, where did the time go? This is because your focus, your energy was honed in. So this is a way that another example of that would be elite athletes. When elite athletes are training, they just laser focus, right? And they're very focused on what they're doing. Why? Because they're sending energy to the manifestation of whatever that is. Okay, so if it's building more muscle content, it's getting faster, getting quicker, getting lighter, whatever it is, they've got a full dedicated energy stream going to that manifestation. Same thing applies with our emotion, right? So we find ourselves offended in some way in society today. Sometimes that energy, that negative energy that was just spewed, is going to come into our sensory input and it's going to multiply exponentially the energy that we already have inside. So if we're kind of feeling a little testy maybe, and this energy arrives, poof, it just amplifies it and makes things worse. And typically what happens there is we often see behaviors get involved and we find a very emotional, guttural kind of reaction to the event. So somebody says something that essentially the psychologists use the words trigger, but my word is energy overload, negative energy overload in that case. Because in much the same way that you are triggered in a negative fashion, i.e., anger, hate, division, separation, those types of things, you can be triggered in a good way too, right? So euphoria, sexual orgasm, all of those things are going to be the extreme, the other direction. So it's just an energy stream that comes into an already created energy pod and poof, it amplifies exponentially. All of a sudden you now have this much higher state of emotional, your emotional state is that much higher. So our perspectives essentially is our focus. Where are we focused? What are we looking at? If we are looking at those things of dislike, of distrust, of frustration, of disappointment, of anger, of sadness, of those things, and we're thinking about those, and we're thinking about them a lot, we're putting them in our thought process, what that means is that we're creating energy and we're sending energy to that thing, that state, right? So if we're thinking negatively, we're thinking about all of our negative and we just don't like where we are, that's where our energy is going. Okay, so immediately we say, you know what, I don't want this thought process anymore. Wipe the board, start over. We're going to think happy thoughts. At the risk of sounding like the Hook movie with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman, we simply think happy thoughts. We can fly, right? So we think happy thoughts. We're going to focus our energy now on happiness, on joy, on harmony, on contentment, on comfort, on peace, those things. And as we focus energy on them, they will manifest, right? So, in much the same way as you just played 8 hours of video games without noting it, so too can you point your focus now at happiness, at joy, at peace, right? And so, in much the same way that we do it over here, can we do it over there? It makes very little difference. Now, the ultimately the difference between those two is really your intent. What do you intend? So this is I look at intent as kind of the floor at which we're standing on to direct wherever we're going. If the floor is negative and we just want bad things for other people, that's literally what's going to happen, right? So now, conversely, if we are standing on the good side where we would just want happiness and joy and flowers all around, that too is what's going to happen. Now, the good news about this whole understanding of energy and how it moves and what our perspectives is that we have a choice. We can choose the local intrinsic narrative that we're going to make our life's decisions on. We can choose whether we're going to be angry / frustrated / whatever, ever, or we're going to be happy, joyful, gleeful, comfortable, content, all of those things. When we make that choice, we are going to focus on it. A lot of people will use affirmations like images. Maybe they have a favorite vacation that they took in Hawaii or Tahiti or somewhere, and it was just the most awesome of time. Oh, I loved it so much. That may be an affirmation that says, I'm going to get back there, right? I want to get back there. Maybe if only in my mind, I'm going to get back there. Now I'm focusing my energy / manifestation on these happier things, on the happier underlying emotion that then will support our mental shift and help us to keep our mental shift that way. So we're going to start looking at the image. We're going to drill down into the image. And then we're going to, every time we feel, start getting that doldrum, pick up the picture, right? Now, other things can be done too. One of the things I wear, way down under here, I wear I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but that is a Mjolnir. Mjolnir, of course, being the hammer of Thor, formed from a dying star. Of course, if you're not familiar with Norse legend, that's where it came from. And when I start feeling kind of, man, I don't know if I can get through this, I'm struggling here, I hold Thor's hammer. Thor's hammer gives me strength. It gives me strength because my Mjolnir speaks to my ancestry, and I'm very proud of my ancestry. I'm very proud of the Dane and Norse cultures, and to me, that gives me great joy. That gives me great sense of pride and intrinsic joy, contentment, comfort. And now, what have I just done? I've just shifted back from meh. Now I'm focused back now on happiness and joy and going forward, moving forward on a positive foot. So this would be another reason, an additional reason that we could use these totems. Totems from our ancestry typically have much more authority when it comes to energy management. So if we've got like an heirloom ring, maybe from the grandparents or great grandparents, we have an heirloom ring. We focus on it. We remember our grandparents, and for those of you who are not grandparents yet, you'll get there. But in the meantime, just know that, how do your grandparents treat you? And remember, you're a dream. You're a dream come true for our ancestors. They may not have imagined you'd ever be here, right? And so you are just beyond the world to them. Now, I don't know about the rest of you grandparents, but me, when my grandkids come over and they show me artwork or they show me things that they've accomplished, I beam with pride. Why? Because I know they put their heart and their soul into it, right? And so, and my grandson, of course, he the one who lives in state, the other grandson, same way. You know, they just have that recognition, and they, grandpa, right? And what does that do for me? It's serious ego boost, right? But more importantly, it gives me positive energy. So if I'm feeling down and I'm feeling blue, I hear a grandson and he calls out to me, Grandpa, you know, and poof, all of my worries go away. Immediately, my focus now, my energy, my manifestation energy has now shifted. And I'm no longer in this neutral kind of ebb. I'm back in the current, and I've got positive energy coming in from my grandson. So for those of you who say, "Oh, well, my grandparents weren't really that exciting," or maybe they passed back to the spiritual realm before you were born, whatever the case, know wherever they are, their spiritual entity that they are at their core loves and respects you. They absolutely, they are no different than the grandparents here, the elders here on Midgard. They are no different. They look at their grandchildren like they are the gifts from the gods, as they are, right? So they look at them as the gift that they are. And again, we're drawing energy, we're giving energy, and we're drawing energy, right? So that's really the benefit there. So for you, for those of you who don't have grandparents anymore, close your eyes. Imagine your grandparents. They the imagination, it may be off, you know, a couple of degrees either way. It's okay. All grandparents, all of our spiritual sides of being grandparents are absolutely thrilled that you are here, and that you are worthy, and you are seeking out joy and happiness and peace, because that's all they really want for us. So close your eyes, picture your grandparents. And again, if you were like me and my brother, you may not have ever had photos of them. You don't even have any idea what they may look like. Um, and this is, where I've gone into some really basic genealogy in trying to understand what they look like, what they might look like. Kind of backwards engineer from my great grandmother and my great grandfather, kind of backwards engineer, and I can get to this. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of imagination, a little bit of an embellishment of a memory that I'm kind of putting there in my mind. But the energy that I send still goes to my bloodline, still goes to my ancestors, regardless if I'm seeing their face a little crooked or a different in a different way. Matters not. My intent, which is to send energy to my ancestors, my intent says I'm going the right direction, right? I'm doing the right thing. And so that's what's going to direct my energy from me to my grandparents in the spiritual realm. So whether you've seen their face or not, you can pray, focus, meditate on them, and they will get the energy. And what happens when grandparents get energy, much like when my grandson comes to me and, Grandpa, I give him a big old bear hug, and I just love him to death. I just smother him with hugs and the like. Why? Because now I'm giving energy back to him. Validation of his energy. I'm giving it back. Same way for adults, right? Who go see their grandparents, if they're lucky enough to still have grandparents. and they go see them. And what's a grandparent's first reaction? It should be to you better get your buns over here and give me a hug, right? Right? Because we want to give that energy back. Same approach is in the spiritual realm. When we go see our ancestors in our mind, we send them energy by thinking about them. Remember, that's the way. When we put them in our third eye, we're sending energy to them. And what are they going to do? They're going to, it's just like getting a hug in the spiritual realm. So they're going to take your hug and they're going to give a hug back. They're going to send you energy in return. That might be pride. It might be interpreted in your mind as pride, just joy, of maybe even relief, comfort, coming home. Many of these emotional interpretations can be attributed to the return of energy. All right, does that make sense? All right, back to your question. The question about our perspectives, and that we have a choice. We can always change our perspective. Now, sometimes it may be more difficult than others, right? We're bound, us physical forms are bound by 20, give or take 2,000 years, maybe even more, of programming to kind of live in this underlying imagination of fear. The modern social media kind of preys on it, uses it quite frequently as the fear and the dark and the concern. It's really how they sell magazines, right? It's really how they sell airtime. So all of those things kind of culminate this environment of not really reaching our potential, being distracted for sure, but distracted by more negative, more unwanted, more not needed kind of mentality. So the goal is to spend, and I have a wonderful group of co-creators on newrealitytv.com. And there are a bunch of them there who provide a wonderful collection of meditation that you can use in your everyday life. This is not a 2-day summit on the top of a mountaintop with crazy clothes and goats and llamas. No, that stuff is great, but this is everyday living. Wonderful group of people who have a wonderful collection of meditation ideas that may work in your busy everyday life, right? So just a little bit of meditation. Again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring down our focus. Our focus gets so rattled during the day. It's just 9 million things going on in our lives every day, starting from almost the time we wake up, right? As soon as our eyes are open, it's like chaos. So taking a moment for yourself to kind of rebring your energy back to this intrinsic process. Remember, as you go about your day and you're helping this and helping that and helping this and helping that, for each time that you're thinking about something, you put it in a thought process, you're sending energy to it. Okay? So every time you think about, you're driving and you may see a person on a street corner who's panhandling for food or money. You see him, that's energy, because now your visual is coming into your brain. Again, your emotional filter is going to filter it, but nonetheless, there's energy there. And when you think about him or her momentarily, you've sent energy. It's the way it is, right? So those people in our lives that may be a little bit more flamboyant, those people are receiving more energy. Why? Because you have no choice. Many people don't have a choice to not think about them. They see them in public and they go, "Oh, look at that guy," and lo and behold, poof, arrives energy. And energy that I can then use. And I call me out because I'm about as odd duck as you get in, particularly in stores and in certain places I go. I'm the only guy there usually wearing a kilt. I'm a big guy wearing kilts, so that makes it like triply kind of wild to watch. Um, and I can get this energy from being there that I then use to either A, give to someone else through me thinking about them, or I'm going to use it intrinsically to heal. If it's been a really, really, really tough week, I've done a lot of traveling, I've met with a lot of people, I've met a lot of people who have a lot of, they're getting over some negative hurdles, um, those kinds of things. And I get to a Friday afternoon and I'm just spent, done. Stick a fork in me. Um, and so what I like to do is we'll go out to dinner or something where it's more of a public space, and I'm a showboat a little bit, but I'm drawing in energy. I'm drawing in this energy. So again, it's all about who people are thinking about. So if people are thinking about me, wherever you are, you're thinking about what I'm saying, you're thinking about me, you're sending me energy. When you want to heal yourself on like a weekend, rejuvenate, I always talk about it, especially when we get to Mondays Day, right? And we talk about rejuvenation and how we've used the understanding of Freya to manage the energy in our lives. When we put ourselves right there and we picture ourselves, we think about us and we think about the healing and the this and the that, we're sending energy back to ourselves for, again, healing. And again, if we're going to give it out to other people, we can do that too. So our perspectives are completely up to us, and we can change them at any time. There is no, you don't need to give 30 days notice. You can change anytime you want. You're the driver. So you find things that are in that other mindset that you want to have. If you want to be happy and joyful and content, comfortable, give yourself a visual sometimes, a visual cue that can help you refocus your energy at manifesting that. Totems, Mjolnir is a good one. I wear arrowheads from my brothers and sisters of the many nations throughout, particularly the U.S., but around the world. I wear a wolf. I don't know if you can see him. Oh, there he is. There he is. And so I wear these things not for other people, but for me, so that I can take a moment and I say, okay, whoa, I need to think about this. I need to think about this. The organ minder around my wrist. All of these things help me to refocus my energy and get back to where I need to be. All right? Get back to a place of joy, of contentment, of comfort, of peace, harmony. All of those things. All right? So I'm maintaining my aura. And that's really what we're trying to do with our perspectives. Just redirect them where we want to be. If we want to be happy, then we're in charge of making that happen. All right? I hope this has answered the questions. Again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate. Drop me a line, shaman@akulfhefner.com, or you can visit northwhispers.com. There, if you scroll all the way to the bottom and you look, well, for you, it's that way. At the bottom, at the left of the page, you'll see a big orange button that says "Ask me a question." Drop in the question. Let's open a dialogue. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about what it's going to take to help you. All right? I wish you the very best Wooten Eve, and I hope that everything in your life is manifesting the way that you want. And if not, I hope you have a path to find that. All right? Love and light, my friends. Until tomorrow.